She wouldn't look at me. Not once since the appetizers hit the table. Not when I pulled out her chair. Not when I toasted to her mother's recovery. Not even when I mentioned our anniversary coming up next month. Her eyes flicked past mine like I was a stranger seated at the wrong table. Dinner was at her parents' house. A full table. Her mom, her dad, her younger brother Scott, and us. Pot roast, wine, candlelight. Comfort. But something in the air was off, thick, static, waiting. She pushed peas around on her plate. I refilled her glass. She nodded, murmured thanks, but still wouldn't meet my eyes. Her father did, though. George was an old-school man, served in the Navy, ran a chain of car lots, respected silence over small talk. He didn't speak unless it mattered. So when he leaned in, voice low enough that only I could hear, I knew something was coming. Son, he said, voice hoarse, you deserve to know the truth. I didn't react. I kept chewing. Swallowed. Set my fork down gently. Then I turned my head toward him. What truth? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he poured more wine, held the bottle out to me. I declined with a small shake of my head. He looked across the table. At her. Ask your wife, he said quietly. Her fork clinked against the plate. She looked up then. At him, not me. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Just the smallest shift of breath, like someone punched her in the ribs without moving a muscle. Scott was mid-story about a promotion, oblivious. Her mom smiled, nodding, unaware. Only 3 of us were in the real room now. Claire, George said. His tone was different. Not stern. Not fatherly. Just final. She closed her eyes. I don't know how long we sat there in that held breath, but eventually she stood, napkin in hand. She mumbled something about needing a minute and walked toward the hallway. I didn't follow. I stayed seated. George stared down into his glass. I told her to tell you last week. Said it wasn't right, carrying it around like that. But she said it wasn't the time. Told her there's never a good time for this kind of thing. I didn't ask what this kind of thing was. I already knew. Because when a man watches his wife for 2 months change how she kisses him, when the routine hugs grow shorter, when her showers get longer and her texts become silent, he knows. He just waits for confirmation. That confirmation stood barefoot in the hallway now, head pressed to the doorframe. I finally got up, walked to her slowly, measured. She didn't flinch as I stopped behind her. Didn't turn around either. We stood there in silence. Same air, same room, miles apart. You going to tell me? I asked. She nodded slowly. Yeah. Now. She turned then, eyes rimmed red but dry. She looked tired. Not from guilt. From maintenance. It's been 5 months, she said. It started after New Year's. I didn't ask who. Names didn't matter. Not yet. She continued, voice hollow. It wasn't supposed to last. I thought it would just burn out. I was going to end it. But you didn't. She shook her head. No. I stepped back. Gave her space she hadn't earned. Does he know you're married? She hesitated. That's all I needed. I'm not going to make a scene, I said. We'll finish dinner. You'll pretend you're still my wife. After that, we talk. Alone. She nodded again. Silent. We went back to the table. George met my eyes for the first time with something almost like pity. Scott was still talking. Her mom asked if everything was okay. Claire smiled and said she just needed a breather. The rest of the meal passed like we were playing roles in a badly directed dinner theater. When dessert came, I declined. She did too. We left 20 minutes later, both saying thanks, hugging goodbye, performing civility like it meant something. The car ride home was a vacuum. No radio. No words. Just the sound of my fingers tapping once against the steering wheel every couple miles to remind myself I was still here. Back at the house, she walked in first. I watched her. The way her steps faltered at the hallway. The way she looked up toward the bedroom like it hurt to even consider sleeping there tonight. I'll stay in the guest room, she said. Don't bother, I said. I'm not sleeping. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something that would fix it. Something rehearsed. I beat her to it. Was it someone I know? She swallowed. Yes. I nodded. Nothing broke inside. Nothing shattered. It was just cold. Sharp. Focused. Then you'll understand, I said, why I'm going to handle this very carefully. She looked confused. Afraid. What do you mean? But I didn't answer. I walked into the office, shut the door, and turned on my laptop. I had some files to open. Some names to check. Some quiet revenge to begin planning. This wasn't going to be a fight. This was going to be a calculation. The first thing I did was check our joint accounts. Not for damage. Claire wasn't that kind of reckless. She still wanted the illusion. The house, the shared bills, the shared future. She thought the truth lived in whispers and dark corners. She didn't understand that I had already suspected her for months. The balance was intact, but something else wasn't. 3 weeks earlier, she'd moved $4,200 from her business account to a personal checking she never told me about. I found it by tracking a pattern in the bank's backend app one had access to from an old budget spreadsheet. A simple cross-reference of transaction IDs, and there it was. Varied, but visible. I opened a secure drive, uploaded the screenshot. Next, I checked her cloud storage. She'd left herself logged in on the iMac. Rookie mistake. Or arrogance. There were photos, most innocuous. A few weren't. One in particular froze me. Her in a hotel mirror, half undressed, a man's hand around her waist. Just the edge of his chin visible in the shot. But enough. I didn't save it. Didn't need to. I wasn't after emotions. I was collecting leverage. By 3 a.m., I had 10 folders labeled with dates, financial activity, metadata from messages I pulled off her synced text archive. It wasn't just infidelity. There were lies about her income. She'd taken 2 vendor loans behind my back using the business as collateral. My business, technically. I still held 51% ownership of the LLC, a detail we both forgot because I never pressed it. She used my credit as the guarantee signature. I didn't confront her the next morning. I made coffee, set it by her door. She didn't touch it. I drove to work like nothing happened, but I didn't go to my office. Instead, I stopped 3 blocks away at the co-working space I hadn't told her about. My backup, my quiet place. That morning, I called Jared, my old friend, now an IP lawyer with a flair for strategic removals. Not just divorces. Extractions. You sound calm, he said. Should I be worried? No, I replied. But she should be. He laughed, then got serious. You want this fast or clean? Both, I said. And I want it quiet. Then we start with the paperwork. You still have control over the LLC? I checked last night. She never updated the registry. Good. Then we're not going to divorce her first. We're going to audit her. 3 days passed. Claire acted like she was living in purgatory. No explanations. No accusations. Just silence. I was polite, distant, professional. On the 4th day, a courier dropped off a sealed envelope at the house addressed to her. She was in the kitchen when she opened it. She paled before she hit the 2nd page. What is this? She asked. I didn't look up from my coffee. An internal audit. Of what? Our business. You can't do that without notifying. I just did. She clutched the envelope like it might bite her. You're using this to punish me. I finally looked at her. No. I'm using this to protect myself from a partner who forged my signature on a vendor loan application. Her mouth opened, closed. The silence was delicious. Don't worry, I said, sipping. You won't be arrested. Not yet. Yet. I shrugged. Depends on how you respond to the next few letters. Over the next week, she received 4 more. First, a cease and desist from our accountant, terminating his services and freezing all expense approvals pending investigation. Then, a formal letter from Jared's firm outlining potential liability exposure and misuse of funds. Third, a notification from the bank that the business accounts were under review for suspicious activity. And finally, a personal message from me. Simple. 1 sentence. You have 10 days to resign from the business, or I take this federal. That broke her. I came home on day 8 to find her sitting on the porch, knees drawn up, resignation letter in hand. Tears. Apologies. That shaky voice I once mistook for sincerity. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered. I took the letter, read it, folded it, and pocketed it. You didn't mean to get caught, I said. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. Not unless you want me to remember what your face looked like when you lied for 5 straight months. She stood slowly, something bitter forming in her expression. You think you're the only one who gets hurt here? No, I said. I think I'm the only one who prepared for it. That night, I slept for the first time in weeks. Next step was tracing the man in the photo. He wasn't invisible. Claire was careless. People in lust always are. I didn't need his name to hurt him. I just needed his job. And thanks to metadata, I had everything I needed. I found him 2 days later. His office badge was clipped to his belt in one of the mirror selfies Claire saved. Dumb move. I zoomed in, ran the logo through a reverse image search, Found the firm, financial consulting, mid-tier. Not glamorous, but just enough power to make secrets worth keeping. I used a proxy email and reached out to the firm's compliance officer, posing as a concerned party aware of ongoing ethics violations involving a married employee and a client spouse. Included a few cropped images, faces blurred, details just vague enough to raise alarm without revealing myself. 24 hours later, their HR department requested a meeting with him. 48 hours after that, Claire got a message. Tell your husband to back off. She showed it to me, panicked. The name? Redacted. Number? Burner. I smiled. He's sweating. Good. She looked at me like she didn't recognize who I'd become. Like this was my crime. You're destroying people, she said. No, I said. I'm removing obstacles. A week later, I received a tip. One of Jared's contacts in compliance law knew the firm. The man was flagged for misconduct. Not fired, not yet, but under review. One wrong step away from losing his license. That's when I made the final move. I sent him a letter. Real name. Real return address. No bluff. No theatrics. Just facts. Asterisk, you slept with my wife. You knew she was married. I have proof. I've also forwarded that proof to 3 members of your executive board. You're not the first man to think no one was watching, but you're the first dumb enough to leave fingerprints all over company time. I don't want money. I don't want an apology. I want silence. You resign quietly. You leave the industry, and you never speak her name again. Do that, and this goes no further. Asterisk. 2 days later, he was gone. Scrubbed from the firm's website. LinkedIn deleted. Claire never got another message. She didn't ask what I did. She didn't want to know. The divorce was finalized quietly the next month. Clean split. I kept the business, the house, the accounts. She walked away with personal items and a 4-year car lease I let her keep out of pity. There was no courtroom drama. No friends choosing sides. Because I didn't let it go public. I didn't need to. Power isn't noise. Power is control. And I had all of it. Months passed. I rebuilt the company without her. Rebranded. Streamlined. Profits tripled within the year. No scandals. No baggage. Just a man who survived the lie and turned it into leverage. Claire tried reaching out twice. Once by email. Once through a mutual friend. I ignored both. She lives in a smaller place now. Took a job at a boutique out of town. I heard she tells people the split was mutual. That we grew apart. I don't correct her. Let her keep the story. Me? I sleep fine. Because I didn't just recover. I won. They say betrayal changes you. It does. But only if you let it. I didn't fall. I recalculated. And when I moved, I didn't miss.